Civil society has got to be absolutely crucial to the catalysing and speeding up the development of energy markets in Africa. It's recognised as one of the pillars in the Sustainable Energy for All process. And civil society needs to be there in three ways. The first is that we need to play a role in catalysing energy markets. Not to be a market actor, because there are many private sector actors, but what's needed is greater coordination so that energy markets can reach the last mile consumer. At the moment, energy markets are not reaching those last mile consumers in rural off-grid communities, and by catalysing and facilitating markets to work better, that's a key role that civil society can play. Secondly, we understand the needs of particularly poor and remote communities and can help to advise and build the capacity of small private sector actors who are going to be the ones who can help deliver energy to those players. And thirdly, we have an important role in convening civil society, to bring civil society together. That's a role that Practical Action can play as part of the Energy Access Workstream, so that we can influence the policy decisions that are currently creating barriers to catalysing those energy markets, especially for decentralised renewable energy sources that will be absolutely crucial to reaching last mile consumers, not only in electricity but also in cooking and in other forms of energy access.
What's been a very exciting and important development over the past 2 or 3 years has been that at an African government level, at a European government level, and at a global level, the African electricity supply industries have risen up the global policy agenda to such a degree that whereas now you see the European initiatives, President Obama's Power Africa, in fact dozens and dozens of initiatives. And one thing that the AEP's been doing in a separate project is the AEP mapping of energy initiatives, which lists 8 to a dozen big core global initiatives, a couple of dozen or more regional initiatives, and that's only looking at international initiatives for African energy that deal with cross-border, let alone all the nationally based projects. So what you're looking at is a huge number of projects. The AEP is trying to work to help strengthen up the international architecture so people can work together better and get more focus by mapping those things, and that's underway now.
For example, in Kenya, we've worked really closely to make sure that those gender issues are right there written into the country's energy policies for renewable energy and in their country's action agenda. And beyond that, we've worked to make sure that they reach the county level in Kenya, so the next layer down of administration, so that people at those levels understand the gender issues. And specifically, what does that mean? In particular, we've worked on issues around cooking and fuels, but it's beyond. But gender mainstreaming is more than just cooking and fuels. It's also the particular roles that women play in productive uses, and women's needs for access to the right kinds of energy and community services that they rely on, health centres, education centres for their children, and the roles that women play and need to be empowered in the energy value chains, because we know that when women are selling energy products to women, then it works much better. So in all of those ways, we need to try to reduce the barriers and increase understanding of how women's roles in energy value chains and women's and different gender needs are important in all aspects of energy access.
Wind's keeping pace. Some countries that are well fitted for wind projects have been delivering good results. Hydropower as well. We have huge dam projects underway, more needed there. On access, some countries are moving at an accelerated pace. Ghana, for example, would be one, but in very many places we're still at very low levels of access. And indeed, as more is known about the access numbers, which remain very spotty, the more we see that there's more work to be done. On efficiency, more work to be done. Some governments, and it takes regulation to be important, have really moved ahead. And also in the private sector, you've seen things like the Nigerian privatisation, where companies that have bought into distribution companies have actually really had to go and say, we've got to do something because we've put our money where our mouth is, and now we've got to get some dividends. Energy security, I think on getting piped gas and LNG export, that's looking, it's a relatively stable situation, but there are other things that need more. I think particularly, although there's a lot of political buy-in to cross-border electricity trading, and there are interconnections being built now, the fact is these take a huge amount of time. Doing cross-border business, as we know, is a hugely complex thing. And so more could be done. I think on all things there has been progress, there's huge interest, but more could be done. What we need now is to go and crunch the numbers, get them even more exact and precise, so that policymakers and consumers and all stakeholders on all sides know exactly what we're talking about. Because really, for a long time, when it comes to the numbers, as when it comes to the lighting, we've all been a bit in the dark.